and welcome to the 11FS Spotlight Show. My name is David Brear, and in this show we shine a bit of a spotlight on the best and brightest in the tech and financial services industry to try and understand what is it that gets them going, growing, and what they really think the future of the industry will look like. On today's Spotlight, I am delighted to be joined by Brustkern, who is the CEO here at Fintech Nexus. Bo, thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, kind of a busy day or a busy couple of days for you, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, David. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. I mean, what we're going to be doing is talking a little bit about your background, your career, and really what you think the future of the industry will look like in the context of everything that's happening within financial services, because changing it really, really is in that sense. And you only have to kind of walk the floors here to see the amount of innovations that are really sort of happening in this space. But maybe if we start with the elevator pitch, give us the 1 minute on what is Fintech Nexus.
Sure thing. So we connect, inspire, and educate the financial services community, and we do that through events and content broadly defined. So those are events like this that are large-scale in-person events, and then there are also content that we deliver online.
Very good. And I mean, I say Fintech Nexus, obviously, congratulations on the rebrand. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because obviously, I mean, I said earlier on, I mean, Lendit was it's an institution in itself in terms of the brand and the magnet that you've sort of drawn to, I mean, just the amount of people that are here today in terms of sort of turning out for the show. So why change that? Why move to a new brand?
Well, there's a number of things. I mean, we founded Lendit back in 2013 because we were fintech entrepreneurs and we were in the lending community and we were doing online lending. And so we felt like, look, Lendit was the perfect name for us. And of course, over time we grew. Over time we recognized that innovation in financial services went well beyond lending. So we started covering a much broader sort of fintech mandate. So we changed our name to Lendit Fintech, but we'd still have the second in command at Goldman Sachs on our stage in front of thousands of people saying, "I'm so glad to be here at this lending conference." And we're like, no, actually we're a fintech conference. So, and beyond that, as we move through the pandemic, we're not just a conference, we're a media company. So we span so much from basic banking all the way to crypto, right? Deep into Web3. And so what we've discovered along the way is that Lendit name just wasn't going to suit us anymore. And so we decided that it was time. And it turns out that 4,000 people could find their way to the Fintech Nexus conference when they were intending to go to the Lendit conference.
Yeah, well, it's good. Good signage is always a good thing, isn't it? But and Nexus, I mean, Nexus is a good, always you pick a name and give it meaning, but Nexus in that context of what you're really trying to achieve with the conference is, a perfect word for this, isn't it, really?
It really is. I mean, we feel like it's the community that's doing the hard work, right? We're just bringing people together. So in a sense, Nexus is a term for us that means like we're simply a bridge. We want to bring the fintech community together. We'll bring banks to fintechs, fintechs to crypto, crypto to banks, everyone together. And when the next thing comes along and it's impacting financial services, by all means, we intend to still be a very sturdy bridge over which our community can cross to meet each other, to be inspired and to lead each other to a brighter future.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? With all of that, with all of the technology, I mean, this is what it's about. It's people, right? Every one of those companies is just a collection of people in that sense. So, people coming together to discuss things that they're passionate about. That's what this is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't deal with businesses. We deal with people. We sell to people. We make relationships with people, and we feel really strongly about this community. We came from the community itself. In the early days, the community cheered for us. They helped us thrive. They showed us what they wanted, and we built it for them. In the dark days of the pandemic, they rallied around us and made sure that we could survive through that. And now you can see that everyone is really, really excited to be back in person. And it's just such a thrill to be among this community that has changed so much. And yet one thing has stayed pretty constant, and that is, we're here for each other. And it's all about the people.
Definitely. So how do you think it has changed in that period? Obviously, we're, I wouldn't say touch wood in some description. We're not on the other side of this just yet in terms of everything that's happening from a pandemic perspective. But if anything, it seems to have accelerated or heightened the need for this community to drive forward the changes that we're sort of seeing within financial services. So in a weird way, it's kind of moved us forward, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we thought we were dealing with big problems back in 2013, and to a degree they were, but we've seen so much change socially, economically, financially, geopolitically. We are continuing to, and maybe experiencing bigger changes now than we've ever seen. And I think the real test comes for this community when we see, the kind of duress that our globe is under right now, with the economy, financial system, and again, geopolitical clashes going on all at the same time, creating real uncertainty. The financial system needs to be resilient and withstand that. And so I feel like every time we turn the page and see a new drama unfold, I feel like, okay, we're needed again. And that's why we're here. So let's face this and let's try to help our community surmount it.
Yeah. People coming together and, solving problems, doing business, getting through those things. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, how do you see the industry shaping out over that period then? Because if we, crystal ball gazing for a second, you extrapolate out some of these trends, the acceleration we're seeing in the DeFi space or the crypto space, the legitimization of those things and, big banks getting into this space. This is no longer a side thing. Fintech is mainstream in the real sense, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Especially when we broaden that umbrella to such a great extent. I'm a huge fan of what's going on in Web3. I think the ownership economy, I guess, is a term I could use here. It is fundamental and it's bigger than the internet. And therefore, I think that, we've got to learn how to play together. Often I say when I'm talking about, one of our new efforts, new products that we've launched called Merge, which is introducing banks and fintechs to Web3, is look, if it's going to be a revolution, let's make it a bloodless one. Let's learn how to play together and not do battle, because we're all after the same thing. We're using different technologies, we're using different languages, but we need to be able to figure out how to speak together and find that common ground where we can build commerce together.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The people who benefit most from all of that. I mean, there's consumer, the retail side of things. Competition is providing better outcomes for consumers. There is, in the B2B sense, there is pressure on existing incumbent providers to, step games up and provide better services. The consumer benefits from all of that in that sense, doesn't it? Which I think everybody I've talked to today, at the heart of the problem that they're trying to solve is a customer one. It's not their own P&L. It's not those things. It fundamentally is a real consumer problem, and that actually that's a great thing to do. I mean, and there's no shortage of them, right? There's no shortage of problems really to solve. So, I mean, it's going to be amazing to see. Well, firstly, it's going to be amazing to see how big you need to make this event in 5 years' time, given all of the companies that will have come to the market since then. But those trends are only going to get more and more heightened, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. The consumer continues to be at the focus of everything that our community is doing. On the keynote stage this morning, every individual that got on stage representing a different part of this giant, swath of the GDP, which we call financial services, every single one focused on the individual. What does the individual want? What does the customer want? How do we serve them better? And there's so many ways that we can improve that right now. Combine that with not only the sort of economic backdrop that we're in, but the technological revolution that's going on and continues to go on. Right? Blockchain is not the last innovation we're going to see. They're coming. There's more coming, and we will be there.
And I guess a big part of that in terms of financial services, again, going back to the point I was making earlier on, is businesses are just people, right? But actually there is quite a lot of sort of inequality baked into the traditional systems in that sense. The opportunity with the future is probably a much more equitable circumstance in terms of distribution and access fundamentally from a financial services perspective. I mean, how do you see us moving forward with that agenda? Because it's one that I think touches, every geo and almost everybody in every population in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. And we're, part of what underlies our mission is a greater economic future, a better economic future. And it's not, that should be something that's felt around the world. This is not an America problem, although we have our problems. This is, this is a worldwide opportunity. I think if we get financial services right, billions of lives are changed. And that's why we're here.
That's amazing. That's a very good reason to get out of bed and do these types of things, isn't it? So I mean, we're in the middle of it right now. We're in the day one. We're in the middle of the eye of the storm type thing. Like how are you feel? I was saying to you before we started recording is the only thing I can even remotely sort of relate to this is a wedding, putting a wedding on. So are you enjoying today? Are you making sure everybody's having a good time? Are you taking the moments to enjoy what you've done, really, in the sense of it?
Well, it's not what I've done. It's what our team has done, and it is so. It's just like a wedding, to be quite honest. And I remind our team about this quite often before we go into an event. Take a second and just let it soak in, right? Let the energy, let yourself feel that energy, because if you don't, it's gone, right? It's the physicality, it's the noise, it's the frenetic nature that is a conference, and it's wonderful to be here. One of the things that I have said often, and I truly believe, is that one of the things I missed during the pandemic was live music. I love live music. Conferences are the live music of commerce. And so we're in the midst, and we're all players in this music that's going on here. It's probably a lot more like jazz than it is a well-rehearsed symphony. And I love that. That's why we're here.
It's good to be back, isn't it?
It's great to be back.
So we always try and end, and there's a lot of people that listen to our content who are just getting into this industry. There are people who are kind of, steeped in it in terms of what they're doing, but we always like to try and give a view of what would be the advice you would give to somebody just getting into this industry, just getting started with their careers. Because, I mean, you've had a great career, but it's, I always say I look back on mine and it's mostly luck and a tiny amount of judgment in that sense. But what advice would you give to yourself just starting out?
It's a great question. I mean, I think, we all make decisions at various points, and we all try to make the best decision possible at these big junctures. So job decision, marriage decision, there's some big choices out there. In terms of what you're pursuing in the career, if you're drawn to financial services, innovation, then I think there has to be some real consideration about what is it about this that is attractive to me? And if it has anything to do with money, you need to look deeper, right? It is because the survivors here, the people that are really making change, are not doing it because there's dollar signs attached. It's because it's a magnificent problem to solve, and they're excited about solving it. And I think that's one of the things that when I was a young, naive kid, I didn't recognize that business was just a great game of solving problems. And once I got that in my head, it became so much fun to be a part of the business world generally. And now I get to decide, what problem do I really want to solve? Let's get after it.
Yeah, find those big problems and go after them, I guess, as well. I mean, and I guess in terms of the event side and everything that you're doing, there's always a sense of almost nervousness in that, isn't there? If you have those nerves about learning things and challenging yourself, that's a good reason to get out of bed in the morning, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's fun to hear people when they're just about to go on stage or do something new at a conference like this, where they're in front of thousands of people. There's a young gentleman on our team who's never had a business meeting before. He's fresh out of college, and he was asking me advice. What do I do? What do I say? I said, say hello, right? Just start the conversation. It went brilliantly for him, right? Another person shared a story about going on stage for the first time, what that was like. A young filmmaker who had spent an entire year producing a film, had to introduce it on stage, didn't want to, and he did, and it was easier than he thought. So it's getting out in the fray, it's enjoying the moment, and it's again making that connection with other humans.
Momentum and confidence in that sense, isn't it? But well, both, thank you very much. I know you've got a million things to go and do. Like, we're in the middle of everything that's happening today. So thank you so much for taking the time. Where can people learn a little bit and connect with you?
Yeah, so we need to learn a new name here. It is fintechnexus.com. That is where we live. And that's, you're going to find everything about our media company and everything we do in this space, which is more than just events, of course. We do large scale and small scale, and online and everything. So probably Twitter would be a great place to listen in, and that's going to be at Fintech Nexus. My Twitter is at Brustkern. So if you can figure out how to spell my name, you can find me there. I'd start there, and we welcome followers, and we welcome people to engage and challenge us. That's what we're looking for.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on everything you've done, Bo. Really, really great show. But this is the end of this show, unfortunately. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. If you'd enjoyed it, then please subscribe to this channel. You can find every other show that we've done on here, and you can follow us either 11FS or Fintech Insider, pretty much every social media channel at this stage. So you'll be able to find us pretty easily. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. See you soon.